Welcome to Beatsource Basics. My name is Mojaxx, and today we're talking about getting back to the booth. Over the past couple of years, almost every DJ around the world has had some kind of period of forced absence from DJing in front of crowds, in front of live audiences. For some DJs, that period has been longer than others. Some it was over pretty quick, and others are just getting back out there now. So whether it is because of that, or just generally you've had a break from DJing for whatever reason, the point of this video is to give you a basic checklist of stuff that you need to think about before you get back to the booth. I'm going to split these tips into three categories. First up, hardware. If you take your own kit out to gigs, give it a test run. Make sure the faders are all performing well, and if they aren't, clean and lube them if you can, or maybe replace them if you can't. It's worth giving everything a clean while you're at it. I recommend a new clean paintbrush for getting dust out of little gaps and crevices. Then check all the connections, paying particular attention to the outputs on mixers and controllers. Give the cables a good waggle around to make sure nothing is cutting out. And that brings us to cables themselves. Plug in and test every single cable that you're planning to put in your bag. Any sign of flakiness, get it out of the pile and either throw it away or put it somewhere else to repair later. You do not want a dodgy cable going back into your bag, as you'll forget about it and end up using it somewhere, I guarantee it. If you're a USB or SD card DJ, I'd suggest you format those and sync all of your music over again. This can be time consuming, yes, but it's a good way to spot any potential issues with an older media device which may be on its way out. Plus, it's a great way to make sure you only have a nice tidy library on there. More on that in a minute. The next thing to think about is firmware. There may well have been firmware updates for the kit that you use, so head over to the manufacturer's website and get everything updated. If you don't take your own hardware to gigs, then contact the venue you're going to be playing at and check what's in the booth. If you haven't been there for a while, they may have upgraded their kit, or something that you rely on may be broken, and you need to know that so you can come prepared. And that brings us to the second category, software. If you've updated your computer's operating system or your DJ software whilst on hiatus, make sure all the hardware you're going to use is compatible with that. A particular note here to Serato users: all of the Rain SL boxes and a bunch of other hardware are no longer supported in versions of Serato DJ Pro later than 2.5.5, so it may be worth keeping that version on your computer as well as the most recent 2.5.9 if you might need it. Check the Serato website for info on having multiple versions installed. The same thing does apply with other software too though. Some of the Native Instruments tractor boxes don't work on more recent Apple OS versions, for example, so write down what kit you are likely to encounter at the venues you spin at and check what you need to have installed to be able to use it. On a similar note, drivers are hugely important and you want to ensure you have the latest compatible versions. The good thing is they are always small, so even if you don't want to install, say, the driver for every possible Pioneer DJ mixer, you can have them downloaded to your computer ready to install in an emergency. DVS users, make sure you have the right control signal on hand for your software in case you need to use CDJs and you can't use HID sometime. I'm not sure if you're able to download the tractor files, but Pioneer DJ and Serato make their control signals available to download, so keep those on your hard drive if you might need them. And don't forget to open up and update any secondary software which you may also use in your sets. The phase manager in my case. It's those smaller things which can sometimes go overlooked. And with that, we move on to the final category, music. If you're a vinyl DJ, this is pretty simple. Make sure your records are all in the correct sleeves, make sure they're all clean, and you're all set. But if you use software, whether to DJ with or just to manage your music, now is the time for a cleanup. First of all, make sure your music is all there. In Serato DJ Pro, that involves rescanning your tags. In Rekordbox, it's show missing files, and in Traktor, you can check the collection consistency. This will help you to identify any tracks which aren't where the software expects them to be, and at that point, you can either relocate or delete them. In Serato, this process will also show up any corrupt files which the software doesn't like with a lightning bolt, and they should also be deleted or replaced. Actual tagging of files and crate building is a much bigger topic, one for another episode, but if you have the time, why not take the opportunity to work on those things a little bit too? But what about the music itself? Are you really sure that you've kept up with all the latest heat? Well, this is one that applies to me quite often. It's rare that I will play a really mainstream bottle service kind of spot these days, but once in a while I'll help out a friend with cover or end up playing somewhere like that on my travels, so these are the steps that I go through. Firstly, head to where you get your music from. In my case, that is of course Beatsource and DJcity. On Beatsource, I'll check out the monthly top picks in the relevant genres and the 20 playlists from the past few months. Then I'll either add the whole playlist to my library or or build my own playlists using those as a base. On DJcity, I'll peep the current most popular list and go into the monthly charts too. If there are some obvious bangers in there, they'll all get downloaded and added to my library. All of those lists are reflective of what other DJs are actually playing, so they will always be my first port of call. Although general charts are rather less relevant, I'll still also run my eyes over the latest iTunes Store chart, the Spotify Top 50 and the UK Top 40 in my case. It will be the Billboard chart in the US, whatever it is in your country. So that's my three main categories covered: hardware, software and music. But there is one more thing which I'll never stop telling you to do: back up your music. That should be something you do as a matter of course, but if you're out of the habit, do it right now. I've made videos on the topic in the past which could probably do with a refresh, but suffice to say, whether it's to an external drive, cloud storage or ideally to multiple places, make sure you've got your local music safely backed up somewhere before you head back out into the world. So there you go, a few things that I think ought to be on your checklist when you're getting back to the booth after any kind of break from DJing. Let us know down in the comments below, have I missed anything there? Have you had any kind of crazy experiences getting back to the booth after a period of absence from DJing? Have you found it just like riding a bike, you're straight in there, everything's natural? Or like me, have you found it a little bit tricky sometimes? You feel a bit out of practice, a little bit out of place, maybe you've had some technical issues. I'd love to know your experiences, so do let us know. Thank you for watching this episode of Beatsource Basics. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, give the video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe to the channel and you click that notification bell to make sure you don't miss any future videos. I'll see you next time.